Hey YouTubers of all shapes and sizes, this is Buzz Miller. I'm going to try to teach you in a very short lesson about what intonation is and why it matters. So stay tuned. Intonation. What is it? What does it mean? It basically means that the guitar is set up that it's in tune with itself. Let's talk about a couple of facts that people avoid. The most important measurement in any guitar, in any stringed fretted instrument, is the distance between the nut and the first fret. Guitar manufacturers are really good. They cut the frets where they're supposed to be. If the nut is off from the frets, there is nothing you can do to save that guitar, to make it sound right, to make it in tune with itself. The only way to do that is to get the nut and fix it. Most nuts, you have to break it out of the guitar. You have to either make a new nut, or if you didn't break that one, adjust it so it now sits where it's correct. A lot of times, I've done this 100 times. I did that on that guitar 3 different times. You put it in and you're like so close, but it's not quite there. So you got to break it out again, and you have to make more adjustments, and then you put it back in. I hate that more than anything. People tell me you're a moron for liking Floyd Rose tremolos. Nobody wants to fully float anymore. Everybody wants to detune and drop to D and all that, and that may be true. I love the fine adjusters. I love the fact that I can adjust further and closer to the fretboard, but also adjust my height, adjust my radius when I change the radius on a neck. But more importantly is this locking nut right here. People like to say, oh, these are cool because you can shim them away from the neck or further to the neck to adjust your action. I like to adjust them and shim them further away from the fret. I like to tear all my frets out and put new frets in. I like tall stainless frets. Now most tall stainless frets come very narrow. Because they don't wear, you don't have to have all that meat on the bottom, so they're not really wide. Put a nice crown on the top, you're good to go. They don't go anywhere. Take a nickel fret that's nice and fat and it's been worn down through time. Now the point at which the string is making the noise is over here, not here. So you've now changed the distance between your nut and your first fret. If that is wrong, nothing you can do to fix it. If you're going to buy a new guitar, take a little clip-on headstock tuner, especially one that's got a fine adjustment, clip that baby on, hit your E, barely push down just hard enough to make the next note. And you're going to, let's say we're looking at a sweeping tuner. So sharp is over here and flat is over here. We get our E set up so it's dead on. We want our E sharp to be dead on as well. If it's way over here or way over here, that measurement is wrong. Take that guitar, hang it up on the wall, and go find something different. No amount of time or money is worth taking a cheap guitar and putting way too much time and effort to get that measurement right. If it's a Floyd Rose, they're fairly easy to fix, but they're still time-consuming and stupid. You want to get a guitar that's got it right. Once we have that right, now we can adjust the rest of the guitar. We want our A here to be in tune with our A here, to be in tune with our A here, and the different strings to also be in tune, where that A all over the place still resonates as an A. So, a lot of people like to go open. So I'm plugged into a tuner. I'm looking at my fine tuner. Again, pitch high, low. A lot of people like to go open and the 12th fret. They're supposed to be 1 octave off. So you're looking to see if it's straight up. I don't really like that, and here's why. Open, you have no tension on the string at all, even though it's minor and you just barely press down enough to have that E ring out, you are putting more tension on the string, and sometimes it'll move just a little bit sharp. I like to go to the 3rd fret and the 15th fret. Tune that so you're dead up. Go to your 15 and you should be dead up. If you're too sharp, it means your pad is too close to the fretboard and you need to move it further away. If you're flat, you need to move your pad closer to the fretboard. Once I get that perfect, then I'll move to 5 and 17. They should be right on, and even 7 to 19. If there's a little bit of change between 7 and 19 and 3 and 15, I'll put them right between each other. Okay, now I've got the high E done. Now I go to the next one, next one, next one, next one, next one. And that's what you've got to do when you're checking your new guitar at the shop. Put your clip on, E, E sharp, go down and check all of them. You can have the right dimension between your nut and your 1st fret on your high E, but not on the low E. Make sure you check all your strings. Once I've got that, then I know my intonation is correct. Now when you go open to 12, any deviation of an octave, I also go open, 12, 24. They should all be perfect, and that needle is sitting straight up. Now be careful, because a lot of your lower strings, when you hit them, they'll go sharp at first and then they'll fall down. You want where it's resting. You don't want where it goes right when you hit it. Because you hit a low E, you watch those really fine tuners, they'll go a little sharp and then they'll fall back down. You want right where it falls to be dead on. Now let's talk about some other things. Let's talk about true temperament frets. If you look at all the notes mathematically, they are not all mathematically equal from each other. So straight frets don't really make sense. To make it right, so every note is exactly what it's supposed to be, you get those squiggly frets. You've seen different people use those squiggly frets. There's a company they call True Temperament frets, and it adjusts the note where it should be mathematically to be the perfect pitch. Here's the problem with True Temperament frets as I see it. Number one, they're expensive. Number two, until recently, they didn't make stainless steel True Temperament frets. And so as they're going flat and as you wear down, to try to refret a guitar is more money than a new guitar. So they were kind of crazy that way. Now with CNC machines, with stainless steel True Temperament frets, we're starting to see more people use them. We're starting to see brand new guitars come out with True Temperament frets as an option. So this is going to become something we're going to see a lot more in the future. Now the third thing I have against True Temperament frets is we're not used to hearing them. I want to play with my favorite Andy Timmons CD, and I want to sound just like Andy Timmons. If I've got the True Temperament fret system and all my notes are perfect, it's not going to sound like what I'm used to, because Andy plays with straight frets, or Metallica plays with straight frets, or Nuno plays with straight frets, or Petrucci plays with straight frets. So our ear is very accustomed to this, and that's why I continue to play this, is because I want to play and sound like the CD, sound like the song I'm trying to play along with. Now when I try to play with Freak Kitchen, I don't sound quite right because they play with True Temperament frets, and I'm not used to, well, my ear's not that accustomed to it yet, but when I try to play along, I find notes that are just a little bit off. As more bands are coming out playing that, we're going to get that. So, enough with True Temperament frets. One other thing is some of the frets, when they go down and you're bending that note and you're coming up, as it's coming up, you hit the spot where it kind of goes down and it goes a little flat and then comes back up. That's kind of tough when you're trying to bend a note, or you know that much is a step or that much is a half step, and you hit that spot of the fret which drops down and it doesn't quite go up the step or half step or whatever you were looking for. It's not as bad as it sounds, but it does happen. Now let's talk about zero fret. What is a zero fret? We see this now with a lot of new guitars, new headless guitars mostly. Rather than have a nut that holds not only the height, not only the distance between the first fret and the nut, but also the strings in place so they don't get out of shape. The nut is now back here, and it pulls tension over a 0 fret. To understand what a 0 fret is, we actually have to go to science. And this doesn't have a one-to-one correlation, but I hope you can follow me. Thermodynamics had the most important law, the law that governed all other thermodynamics. They called it the first law of thermodynamics. Then the scientists found a law that supersedes even that law. So, what would normal people do? Well, you take your first law and you call it the second law, and you put this new one as the first law. No, they didn't. And you're thinking, Buzz, you're lying, this is absolutely crazy. Go ahead and get on DuckDuckGo and search it. They call this new law the zeroth, zero with a TH, the zeroth law of thermodynamics. It's real, it's legitimate. The zeroth law of thermodynamics, the first law, the second law, etc. That is why, maybe that's not why, but it's similar to the 0 or 0th fret. Guitar companies can make the frets perfectly distant from each other, and because it's the same material, because it's got the same crown, you can get the perfect distance if you're running a 0 fret. So when you see a lot of these new guitars, especially headless guitars with a fret down there, that's what it's called. It's the 0 fret. It also helps you with action because you're setting your frets up with a brand new guitar, you're sanding them all, you're crowning them all. It drapes over that, so the distance or the height between the string and the fret should be the same as if you fretted that to be the distance from the second fret to the string. So it helps with action as well. That's what a 0 fret is. You don't need a 0 fret, you don't need true temperament frets, but you do need a guitar that's intonated correctly. If you don't have the guts to do it, which is fine, because it is kind of tricky and you can get screwed up, go to your local music shop, go to your local luthier. They can set it up real easy, real quick, and it shouldn't break the bank. Because the one thing that you do need, you need a solid foundation. If you're going to be playing guitar and you want to sound like your heroes, and you want to sound like the songs that you hear on the radio and on the CDs, you need a foundation to build on. Foundation in your practicing, but mostly a foundation in the instrument you're going to be playing. If it's wrong, you're going to sound wrong, you're going to train your ear incorrectly, and you're going to think that this is right, and when you hear other things, it's going to sound wrong. Get your guitar right. I don't care if you paid $99 for a little kit, or you paid $5,000 for some Paul Reed Smith super special limited edition. If it's not right, you don't have a foundation to build on. Let's get this thing right. Doesn't matter if you do it yourself, a luthier does it. Once it's right, you have a foundation to build on. Because if you have an unstable foundation, all the practice that you're going to do, all the shows you're going to do, you're going the wrong direction. So let's get this right. Let's get our guitars in tune with themselves. Let's get them intonated correctly. Once we do that, then guess what we can do? We can keep on rocking. See ya. Thanks for watching.